Hey everyone, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk about cooking tips for mast cell activation. First, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. It's based on my personal experience. It's for informational, educational purposes only. So I've got 13 cooking tips for you today if you have mast cell activation or you're dealing with chronic histamine-related issues. So number one is less ingredients, the better. Less ingredients, the better. If you have too many ingredients at your meals, you're going to have a tough time digesting them. You're also going to have a higher probability of reacting to them, and you can't rotate your food. So if you're eating vegetables, don't have 6 different vegetables together. If you're eating potatoes, don't eat rice. If you're eating beans, don't eat potatoes. Just make it simple, Less than 5 ingredients is always the key. The next thing is smoothies are simple. Smoothies save you time, and they're easily digested, and you can make them up in a matter of 5 minutes and be able to get a quick boost. It's great for breakfast. Putting fruits together, other things together, and consuming it after it's pulverized is much easier in the digestive system. The next cooking tip would be avoid leftovers and reheating, okay? You don't want to go ahead and reheat your food. You're damaging the protein structure. You're going ahead and reducing the nutrient content each time you do it. Also, when you let food sit out, it gains histamine over time. And over the course of 24, 48, 72 hours, you have a really elevated histamine level on this food. You do not want to consume it after it has been sitting out for 3 days. The next thing is you need to steam nearly everything, okay? Everything. So if you want to be able to be on the low histamine side of things, you want to steam things, not saute them. If you could bake things also, that's one way to do it, but steaming and baking are the best ways to cook. Avoid the sauteing, the frying that increases histamine content dramatically in the food. That is not what you want. Next one is bland is best for mast cell activation. You don't want to be eating things with garlic and spices and really strong flavors, or even really strong like any type of flavor at all for that matter. Bland is always going to be best at a lower probability of reacting to these foods. Your immune system's less likely to perceive it as a threat, and you're more likely just to tolerate the food in general. The next thing is you want to replace frozen foods with fresh. You don't want to be eating nothing but frozen vegetables. It's not a good idea, or frozen foods in general. You want to be able to get fresh foods. Fresh foods are going to be much easier to digest. They're better for the immune system. They don't aggravate the mast cells. And at the end of the day, you always want to pick fresh because it has additional enzymes in it, and those also calm down the immune system and help to break down the foods. So the next cooking tip is you want to ventilate after cooking, okay? What people don't realize is tons of toxic cooking fumes start building up in the air when you're cooking, and most people don't even ventilate. They just put on their overhead fan and say, oh, I think that's good enough. And unfortunately, it isn't, because that air quality starts to become worse and worse and worse. I have air quality monitors in my home. And when I'm cooking with the any type of oil or I'm baking, my whole house will go red. All the air quality monitors in all the rooms, and they'll go red for 6, 7, 8 hours if I don't put the windows open and have the fans sucking out air. They'll go red for several hours. So if you're cooking and then letting the fumes just increase in the air and you're not ventilating, you're going to be having issues. Why don't I feel well the next morning? Why do I get a headache? Why did I react to this food? No, it was what you were inhaling while you were cooking it or after you were eating it. The next thing is cook until the color changes, okay? This is the next piece of advice for cooking. Cook the vegetables until the color changes, okay? You don't want to overcook them. You don't want to have them be all soggy, dark. You're going to lose a lot of the enzymes and nutritional benefit. So you just want to cook until the color changes and then pull it off, steam the food, and be done with it. The next cooking tip for mast cell activation is you got to multitask when you're cooking, okay? Otherwise, you're going to get bored with cooking. So, for example, get a book out, turn the TV on, have a conversation with someone, draw a picture, anything to keep your mind occupied so you're not just staring at the food, waiting. This will help you approach cooking with a lot more interest and love versus frustration and you don't really want to cook again because it's going to take all this time. Well, the reality is that all you have to do is cut up some broccoli, put some beans in there, whatever you want to put in there, steam it, walk away, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's later. Pour out the water, it's done, So just multitask. Find yourself doing things in between so you don't get bored with cooking, okay? Next one is you want to apply the fats after the cooking, okay? If you apply the fats during the cooking, they turn into bad fats. You always want to steam and then add the fats and salt after, okay? The next cooking tip for mast cell activation, rotate your foods, okay? Rotate your foods. If you eat the same foods every single day, you have a high probability of developing reactions to them. That is not what you want with mast cell activation. You want to rotate foods at least on a 2 or 3 day basis. Ideally 3 days or more if it's a food that has a higher probability of a reaction. But things like fruits, vegetables, rice, potatoes, beans, you could typically eat every other day, every day even. And also, next tip is eat slowly. Eat slowly when you're cooking and eating, okay? The faster you eat, the higher the probability is going to be that you're going to react to the food and have an issue. It shocks your immune system. Just eat slowly, chew thoroughly. This is absolutely key. So I got a couple more awesome tips for cooking with mast cell activation. Let me finish. Stainless steel pans. You got to use stainless steel pans. Do not use the non-stick pans. They have toxic fumes that off gas. You're going to be consuming this. Some of these toxic fumes have been shown to never leave the body. They're forever chemicals. So when you're cooking, always use stainless steel. Okay, the last cooking tip I have for you, ding, 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 is you have to avoid the common food triggers, okay? You got to avoid the spices, the herbs, you know, the dried herbs, the dairy, the nuts, the seeds, the gluten, the processed food. Eating too much meat is a big one. If you eat too much meat, you're going to have problems with mast cell activation. This is what almost everybody's doing. Their detox system has shut down, and they're not getting rid of any of the chemicals, and their body's overloaded with this undigested protein. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I provide you well over 13 different tips for cooking and living a healthy life when you have mast cell activation. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go to my website, endsickness.org. I got hundreds of articles, hundreds of videos on there, all about mast cell activation, overcoming it, and thanks for watching.